You're listening to the TV Obsessive channel, presented by TVObscast.com. Okay, welcome back to the TV Obsessive podcast. Here today for episode 62. As always, I'm Cameron Crane, executive editor for TVObsessive.com, joined by Ryan Kirksey, writer and contributor for the site. How you doing today, Ryan?
Doing great. This is back to school week around here, not only for kids, for where I work. I don't know about where you are, but it's everybody's back in sort of normal routines now.
Seems early.
Yeah, it's
That seems, that seems,
South does things early. I don't know why. I think we're just tired of the heat.
yeah, I'm actually not sure if like K through 12 might be going back to school here this week. I don't know kids. But I always have the sense of last week of August.
Yeah.
My stuff with college has always been like last week of August. Um, and so, um, yeah, probably have never mentioned on the podcast before that I teach college courses.
That's right.
Anyhow, we got a couple more weeks of summer left. At least August 16th. We're going to talk today about Lady in the Lake episode 6, the second to last other Penn Ultimate episode. In the latter part of the pod, first, as per usual, we'll talk about what's been in the news, what we've been watching, and stuff like that. To start with the news, maybe a little bit thin this week. Where do you want to start, Ryan?
Let's start with Traitors again. We both love that show. We've got some more Traitors news. We heard something leak a few weeks ago that the season 4 of the U.S. version would come out in January of 2025. Now we have confirmation: two more seasons of Traitors and two more seasons of Alan Cumming coming to Peacock.
Yeah, this is two more seasons on top of the coming season.
Oh, two more on top of. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
so
even
this
better.
is it's been renewed for seasons 4 and 5.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, so they realize they've got a good thing going here. Alan Cumming is into it. Um, I thought it was interesting in reading about this how I saw a quote from Alan Cumming where he's talking about how much he acts on the show,
Yeah.
which, yeah, he's hamming it up, man. You could tell this was something I thought about because I think I mentioned the first time we talked about the show on the podcast how I was like, I know Alan Cumming is Scottish, but does he like that? I almost said that Scottish. That's not what I mean,
Yeah.
but it definitely seems like he's playing up
Yeah.
Scottish accent and all of that on the show. So it's a really good time. I mean, I imagine we're going to get one a year, but cool. I'm in for it. Honestly, I hope that they keep making like the UK version too, and I'll just like watch both versions.
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned this to you before. I enjoy watching both of those because the U.S. has really gone on this path of we're going to fill the cast or the list of contestants with reality stars and TV stars and all this other thing. The UK version was just a lot of normal people, right? So I sort of like the balance there between the two.
Yeah, I mean that you get. There's an appeal in either direction, but it's interesting. It's kind of cool to have sort of both directions. The American version
Yeah.
where it's like, let's get these D-list celebrities. I don't know if that's unfair to people. C-list? Whatever. Give reality stars and all of that, but then as you say on the UK version, it seems more like ordinary people. So yeah, that's cool. That's good news. We also got a little bit more on Squid Game. I think it was just last week. We were talking about the release date for Squid Game season 2 is coming in December. They've released a little teaser trailer. Take a look at this.
Yeah, I looked at the teaser. This is the one where they're just scrolling through the numbers of the contestants. I guess the numbers on their back. Is that the one that you're referencing? And it says something
Yeah,
like, "Now the game really begins."
yeah,
And I mean, I'm not so sure what the families of the first, game. I think it began then, but I guess it really begins. Really, it begins now, right?
yeah. No, this time it's for real.
Yeah.
Like, what? No, but in the press release that came with it, there was some other information. Um, I don't know what I think about this. Apparently, it's going to be set. I think it said 3 years after season 1. This surprised me a little bit. I might have thought that it would pick up a bit more directly after the end of season 1. It's not like you're dealing with child actors or something, so I don't know exactly why they would feel the need to because it's been that long since season one was filmed. I get it, but you know
Exactly.
what I mean. It's not like you've got teenagers involved or something like that. So it makes me kind of curious as to what has our friend Guillaume been doing exactly for the past
Yeah. I mean,
couple
without giving
years.
anything away on this, there, going into the end of the first season, there is a sense as it ends that some time may have passed as the season comes to an end. And so there's some plots and schemes and things that may be in place that took time to put together. Who knows? We'll see what they want to
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. I don't know. I'm a little worried, to be honest. Like,
do.
I thought season one was really, really good,
Yeah.
and I've consistently thought I don't know if we really need more. Obviously, they left the door open to more at the end of season one. Obviously, it was a huge hit. Okay, so of course we're going to get more, but whether it makes sense, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there are already some things towards the end of season one that I kind of thought, meh. So anyway, I'll watch it.
Oh yeah, like I said,
uh,
this is coming out December 26th. Will be, you and I both, I'm sure, be taking some time off, looking for some time to kill. So, I mean, yeah, perfect time for it to be released.
it is interesting timing because there's that kind of usually there's kind of a dead zone between Christmas and New Year's in terms of
Hmm.
stuff coming out. This is kind of rare, and
Yep.
they're gonna just give us Squid Game season two right in that pocket, you
Right.
know. So that's cool. Coming a bit sooner than that, this looks kind of cool. New Ryan Murphy show. I always had mixed feelings about Ryan Murphy. He always swings for the fences, I guess you could
Hmm.
say. You can give him that. So does he hit home run or strike out? I don't know. And continuing this metaphor. Anyway, this show Grotesquerie. There's a trailer for this, full of a lot of religious imagery, clearly kind of a horror angle. You've got a nun investigating crimes. You've got Niecy Nash and Travis Kelsey is apparently in the show. I don't know.
Yeah,
Thoughts about
I
this one?
noticed that. This looks interesting. It has some sort of Seven, the movie Seven vibes, right? There's a guy who's out there killing people and preaching to us via the murders that he's committing. It almost looks like Seven if you put it inside a kaleidoscope or something. It's got a very unique style.
Yeah.
So this is certainly intriguing to me, but it's trying to see oh yeah, so we're about a month away, September 25th. As you said, Ryan Murphy's been hit or miss. He's had some real hits and some things that have ended up in the ground. So this is worth, at least based on this trailer that's been released and what kind of actor actually is Travis Kelsey. I'm willing to give it a little bit of a shot.
Yeah. Also upcoming from Travis Kelsey. Are you smarter than a celebrity?
That's right.
I don't know that I really trust that Travis Kelsey has acting chops.
I doubt it.
That
I
might
doubt
be
it.
interesting to see, I guess. But I mean, I think that he could well have a long career in media
Hmm.
after his football career is over. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if in 30 years he's doing football broadcasts and people hardly remember when he was playing or whatever. But I don't know, acting in like a horror drama.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he'll probably die.
Maybe that's it. Maybe, yeah, maybe he's the victim in the first episode. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He'll probably get killed real quick. I mean, how much time does he have for this stuff? He's got to.
Yeah. All they need is one Instagram post of Taylor Swift watching it with them and they're set. So that's probably what they're looking for.
Yeah, it's a good marketing plan.
Yeah.
Other upcoming stuff. You mentioned the D23. Sorry.
Yes. So yeah, this
Uh,
is the big sort of fan expo, fan announcement, uh, annual event that Disney puts on, right? So this falls usually on the tail of San Diego Comic-Con. And the reason why I just bring this up is there was a lot of movie news that came out, a lot of Disney sequels coming out, a lot of Disney doesn't have any more unique ideas anymore, so they just have to, make live action versions of their movies. But there was some discussion about some anticipated shows coming up. First one, we've touched on this before, is Agatha All Along with Catherine Hahn coming in September. That was interesting because they sort of hinted at and performed what's apparently going to be some musical elements to that show. So I'm going to be interested in checking that one out. A show that I have been desperate for the past 3 or 4 years. We got a date and the first trailer for Daredevil Born Again, my favorite Marvel show. So that's coming March, I think, end of March. And then some confirmation in Andor season 2, which I've told you how much I love Andor.
Yeah.
That Ben Mendelsohn and many of the characters from the movie Rogue One are going to be characters in this second season. There's going to be some timey-wimey time jump things, but really going to lead right
Okay.
into this time when the movie Rogue One started. So, Andor season 2 coming. I couldn't be more excited about that. And then this interesting one that is there's been some speculation of what this is actually going to be about. Skeleton Crew, which is Jude Law and a bunch of like preteens that are apparently sort of force sensitive, or some sort of crew that take on exciting missions. This is done by Amblin Entertainment, so there's very much like an E.T. Goonies vibe to this.
So
Uh,
this is not based on an IP.
this is Star Wars.
Oh, it is Star
This is
Wars.
in the
Okay.
Star Wars universe, and there is a series. I want to say it's is it comics or novels that have told this story before, but yeah, this is sort of this is more like, Star Wars isn't already for kids. This is for kids,
Okay.
right? So this is 12 and 13-year-old kids partnering up with Jude Law, who's probably playing, some grizzled old, alliance member or something, and they go on solve different missions and have different things from week to week. So like I said, Amblin Entertainment very much supposed to be a let's target the younger generation with this one.
That's cool. Sounds kind of like what was that movie called? The Explorers?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're really trying to get all the Star Wars diehards are 50 years old now, so we need to get some younger eyeballs on our shows.
Ewok series. Sitting right
Yeah,
there.
right. That's all you need.
Ewoks. More Ewoks. Um, well, I mean, so yeah, yeah, I don't even know if this is news, kind of segueing into what we've been watching a little bit. I mean, one thing that I noticed, and well, I mean, I almost didn't notice when they were on hiatus. Um, let me start over. So all the late night comedy shows returned this week.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, I don't know if you have any habits in this regard. At this point, for me, I do, but it's more like I'll watch clips on YouTube.
Mm.
You know, there were times when I was younger where I would like turn on Conan O'Brien or whatever, But at this point, I'll watch clips on YouTube. And so, in some way, maybe I wasn't quite noticing that they weren't there, you know, that they weren't showing up. But I kind of did because there's been a lot of news that's been happening in terms of our national politics and stuff like
Yeah,
that for the past
yeah,
few weeks. And so, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much we have to say about this. It just struck me as interesting to realize that Late Night with Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel were all off the air. Seth Meyers, maybe most particularly, their hiatus started before Biden backed out of the election
yeah.
campaign. And then he came back on Monday, and it was actually a pretty funny clip, I thought, where at the opening of Monday's show, Seth Meyers ran down all the news that had happened in the past 3 weeks while they were on hiatus. It's like, wait, there's more?
Yeah, I think this is partially, and I was thinking about this as we were talking about this issue before we started recording, that this may be sort of what's one of the things that's inherently, uh, I think, a flaw about late night, or there's one of the problems about late night right now is no, I did not realize that they were off. And I think that that's partially because, yeah, it's sort of fallen out of the consciousness that this is something that you're supposed to do every night, right? After you finish your evening and you're getting ready for bed, or, whatever. It used to just be, we're going to turn on Johnny Carson or David Letterman or Jay Leno. And now it's just so easy to catch the highlights right when I wake up the next morning that no, I didn't even realize that these folks were off. And there's so much commentary elsewhere about what's going on with all these issues that, I feel like, oh, I guess I didn't even really miss it.
Yeah, but it got me thinking about how these late night comedy shows provide a particular kind of function in terms of our national political conversation,
That's
you
right.
know. And so the fact that you had all of this stuff happening from Biden stepping back, right, and Kamala Harris taking over as the Democratic nominee, and All the stuff that's been out there with like JD Vance saying,
Hmm.
childless cat ladies, and Tim Walz calling them weird, and then Tim Walz, but I mean, like all of this stuff, there was a meaningful like lack
Yeah,
of late night comedy about it, and it just got me, I don't know, got me thinking a little bit about the function of that, which is for laughs, sure, but I think it also plays a certain role in terms of political commentary that you don't get from the news organizations that are, I don't know, trying to be fair and balanced or
right.
however they want to put it. You know what I mean? Um, so I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting, but they're back, and I've been kind of enjoying them trying
Yeah,
to catch up a little
I
bit.
think that's a fair point that at least if if you're like me, you can only, we've had this in 16 and 20 and now 24, you can only take so much of the, let me go turn on the news and see what the quote unquote fair and balanced news has to say about this. I want to go see somebody make fun of this because in my mind, when I see these things or when I watch these press conferences or I see these things that these political candidates are doing, that's what I'm doing in my head anyway. So I just want to see somebody sort of, empathize with those issues with me. And yeah, the late night shows are a good way to do that. So I guarantee you, none of them will have any days off until November, starting
Probably,
now.
probably not. Probably not. I'm not sure about the Daily Show. Like, I think the Daily Show might have been on hiatus too. I
Yeah,
didn't double
yeah,
check that, but I wasn't noticing clips. And then this past
yeah.
week,
Actually, Jon
I,
Stewart
I, I
last
was
week got
seeing.
COVID, so he wasn't
Yeah.
on, but they were still doing, I think, some old shows maybe.
Apologies to the other Daily Show people if they've just been like pumping out content
Yeah.
every day, week after week, and I didn't notice. So I say, blame YouTube. What does the
Right.
algorithm show me? Um, but they've been doing some. I've actually been kind of enjoying some of these other people on the Daily Show besides Jon Stewart. Even if Jon
Yeah,
Stewart sucked me back in a little bit, I've really been kind of enjoying Desi Lydic and Jordan Klepper and some of these other people. They're like rotating anchors,
yeah.
but
I've found I really enjoy Ronnie Chang's stand-up specials. I think so. Several of them are on Netflix. I think he's good. So they do have a good roster there behind Stewart.
they do. Okay, well, what have you been watching lately? You check out Bad Monkey? What have
I
you been watching
did.
here?
So I think it was yesterday. We're recording on Friday. So yesterday, Apple TV released the first two episodes of the Vince Vaughn project we talked about a couple weeks ago. Bad Monkey. This is based upon a series of novels, sort of mysteries and murders that happen in the Florida Keys. So I'm 2 episodes out. I'm halfway through the second episode. I'll say this show is beautiful. I mean, cinematography there in Florida is gorgeous. Um, Funny. Vince Vaughn is very funny in this role. And say I have not finished the second episode yet, but has me interested enough in the story slash mystery that I will probably keep going. It's this good balance of mystery, comedy, good performances, and like I said, just beautiful, very well shot. So it's to me good so far.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't had the chance to check this one out. We talked about the trailer and all of that. All that looked pretty entertaining. It also seems like it's been getting pretty good reviews.
Hmm.
All these people are saying it's entertaining
Yes, yes. I
and
think
seem
there
to be
were.
confirming my intuition that Vince Vaughn is very Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, I don't know that there were high expectations, and so when the shows come in, and even if it is a 6 out of 10, I think that exceeded what people thought it would be, and so I found it to be quite good so far.
Oh, yeah, like what are you looking for here? On the Apple TV front, this isn't probably not much to say here. I know that we've talked about slow horses.
Hmm.
Man, all right, get together. We've talked about horse. Why can't I say? Why can't I say slow horses?
Are you
Anyways,
on the same stuff Gary Oldman is on in the show?
I
That's
don't
what.
know, man. Stumbling over that, I didn't realize this was a tongue twister. Slow horses. But I started trying to catch up with that, right? So, I may have mentioned on the podcast before, I watched the first two episodes. I wrote an article on the first two episodes when it came out, and then didn't find the time to continue with the show. You just had too much else going on. Um, so I picked back up with it and immediately found that like the third episode was what really grabbed me.
Yeah.
So okay, I should have just kept going. But anyway, trying to potentially catch up on that before season 4 comes out. I think it's September 4th.
Yeah, it's coming
So it's
in
just a few
September. I
weeks.
still need to do season three. I am very envious of you that you're experiencing this with Gary Oldman for the first time. I mean, just a classic instantly wonderful character. But happy to be able to dig into three before four comes out. But yeah, we're just a few weeks away from it.
Yeah, indeed. The other thing, this would be more of a recommendation. We might have talked about this show before a little bit. I don't recall for sure. Have you ever checked this out at all? The show is simply called From. You know what this
So I,
is?
yeah, so I saw someone recommend this recently, and I thought, oh, I'm going to watch this season when it comes out, and not realizing, I guess there are two seasons that have previously been released, and season three is coming, I guess, the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think season 3 is coming later in September.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I don't know if I'm gonna have time to catch up on both these shows. It's like the same plan of, I'm gonna watch 18 episodes of Floor Horses and
Yeah, yeah,
20 episodes of From or however many it is. Um, but someone was mentioning it again, and I saw that season 3 was coming out soon, and so I finally hit play on the pilot episode, and it grabbed me.
yeah,
I don't know that it's a great show, but it's entertaining. It's kind of in the, you know, mystery box horror kind of genre. You've got Harold Perrineau as sort of the lead, Michael from Lost,
right, right.
and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Recommendation. The first season is on Amazon Prime Video, and I guess I'm kind of hoping maybe the second season will show up on Amazon Prime Video sometime before
Yeah,
season 3 comes
it
out.
it originally came out on something called Epics. I don't even know what that is or that exists anymore.
Epix has now become MGM Plus.
Okay, okay.
Got to have that plus. Don't any marketing person will tell you, go make a streamer. Got to have plus in there,
Right.
right? So MGM Plus, which you can go and sign up for MGM Plus if you want to, you
Yeah.
know. And I'm sure there's some other stuff on there. Um, but yeah, it's a weird. I think maybe I shouldn't say. I think Amazon might own it at this point. It's a weird
Hmm.
thing, but it's like its own separate streaming service.
But if you have Amazon Prime, you don't have to rent the episodes. You can watch the episodes if you have that subscription.
Yeah, season one, anyway.
Okay.
Season one
Okay.
is there. So kind of hoping that season 2 shows up, and then we'll see about season 3.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but there's a recommendation if you're looking for something that's in that
Yeah. I just
kind
might. I
of
mean, well,
vein.
I've been looking at what's coming out in the next month. It's not great, Bob.
Yeah, more stuff further down the line than in
That's
the
right.
immediate future in a weird way. But look, you
Yeah.
mentioned some things. You got slow horses, you got
Yeah. Plenty.
grotesquerie. You know, there's stuff coming out. It'll be fine. Um, the new season of Pachinko, I think, is next week.
Yeah, that comes very soon before the end of the month.
I haven't caught up on that one. I
I have
hate
not
this.
seen it. I've
There's
not seen
like
even one episode of
it's like, oh no, there's too many shows that I'm behind on that I'm not going to be able to catch up on before the new season comes out. Um, but Pachinko, I thought was quite good. This is another one where, in that period of time when it came out, I watched the premiere episodes. I wrote
it.
up
Yeah.
an article on it, and then I didn't have time to continue. You know,
Yeah.
I just in that period of time, I don't remember exactly when this was, but it was like I took this on um, as a writing assignment to myself to try to cover the premieres of as many new shows as possible. And
Hmm.
then like I couldn't continue writing on all of them. It was
Yeah.
just like
Exactly.
it's way too much for me. I'm sorry. Um, so I don't know if that was a good plan. Anyhow, let's get to Lady in the Lake, another Apple TV Plus show that we've been enjoying. Hopefully, you all have been too. We're on episode 6. It's the penultimate episode. There's only one more week of this left.
That's right.
So, spoilers are on the table here for everything through episode 6 of Lady in the Lake, and we'll be back in about 10 seconds.
Okay, we are back to talk about Lady in the Lake, episode 6. I Know Who Killed Cleo Johnson. We finally get a short title on one of our episodes here, finally. This episode, written by the partnership of Sheila Wilson and Alma Harrell. Alma Harrell also directed this episode, as she has for every episode of the season. At episode 6, Maddie is recovering in the hospital after the end of the last episode when Stefan's mother stabbed her before taking her own life. Because this hospital apparently only prescribes LSD to his patients, Maddie starts having various vivid dreams and visions. These visions include giving birth to a baby that Cleo steals. She's walking through a flooded hospital. There's a Thomas Crown affair-like meeting with dozens of women in blue coats in a big room. Maddie sees herself floating dead in a lake. She sees herself dancing to a song, Me and My Shadow. She sees her own funeral. She sees a crowd of people gathering around cheering on Cleo while the impossible dream plays. Just some of the visions and dreams she has while she's in the hospital. Also, in a flashback, Maddie and Alan confront each other about the relationship Maddie has with Hal. Alan doesn't understand why Maddie would be in love with his dad but not be intimate with him. So they do end up having sex, which raises the possibility that Alan may be Seth's father. Reggie, meanwhile, in the search for Cleo's murderer, frames Slappy, and Slappy is arrested for that murder. Reggie does feel bad about this and tries to give Teddy, Cleo's son, some money, some groceries. Officer Platt is investigating this still, visits Shell and Reggie. He interrogates them about Cleo's murder, but Shell turns it into a conversation about how black men need to be helping one another instead of accusing them and pointing fingers at one another, these things like murder. During the middle of a Baltimore White Power rally with the NSRP, Officer Platt is asked to go visit Captain Stassi and Captain Bosco. Bosco confronts Platt about the black community always trying to be the victim. He knows about the affair between Maddie and Officer Platt. Once he reveals this, he threatens to put Maddie in jail and threatens to get Platt fired. At the end of the episode, Maddie appears to be waking up in the hospital from her dreams, from her visions, and she sees a cleaning lady that's working in her hospital room. That cleaning lady turns out to be Cleo Johnson. And she's come to talk to Maddie to find something specific out that she needs help with. Is this a vision? Is this reality? We've been talking about this for weeks. What do you make of it?
Well, that's probably the most interesting question we're left with.
Right.
I don't know. We're not going to talk about it for weeks because next week I expect we'll find out.
We've
But
been speculating for weeks about this death or potential death.
yeah, it's funny because we've put it out there as a possibility, like maybe Cleo isn't really dead, and we haven't endorsed that. To be clear, we haven't endorsed that.
Right.
There have been some fine people in our YouTube comments. Thanks for listening. Thanks for making comments who have they've seemed to taken it a step further than we have. Where people have commented like, "Yes, I believe that she is not dead," stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's very interesting how. Let's circle back around to that and talk about the visions or dreams a bit.
Yeah.
And um, I don't know if you have any particular thoughts about their content. The style of them, I thought was, I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this is always a bit risky and hard to pull off well.
I just
Where,
thought, yeah, there was so much of it. And I tried to think, what was the connective tissue between all of them? Was there a theme? Was there sort of motif? Was there something that they're trying to show us or tell us? There was just so much of it. I guess where I'm struggling is, what was the story they're trying to tell with all of these various and extensive and so different, such different visions that touch on different things. That's what I think I struggled with.
yeah, I mean, I feel like it was largely in line with the idea that through the dream, she is getting the truth, right? It's like the dream as revelation is a sort of the trope that they're playing on for the most part, or that's how it struck me. And I think that works perfectly well if it's a revelation or like an epiphany about the dreamer. I
Yeah,
think some
yeah,
of the stuff is like the dream about her own funeral, or even the bit where she's going to the swimming pool, right? And her mother like
yeah.
covers
Yeah,
over the
there's a.
part of the
I didn't
side.
even mention that one. There's a conversation with her mother, and she follows her mom to some kind of fair or swimming pool or something, and yeah, they've She covers up a piece of sign that says "No Jews allowed."
Right, right. And then tells her in Yiddish not to worry about the black people.
Right.
I don't know that felt awkward. Apologies. We're gonna
Yeah.
talk about some race stuff, and then
This was
hopefully
an awkward episode. Yes.
hopefully it all feels you know whatever sensitive and nuanced enough or whatever. But I mean that was kind of interesting because then I mean it's a continuation. I think the part that you did mention that Maddie in that dream sequence instead she's like no I don't want to go in there right
Right.
and instead um goes to the area where they're celebrating Cleo and
Yeah.
right in something of a parallel in real life to how she moves to the black part of Baltimore.
Yeah, she doesn't
Maybe,
follow her mother, meaning her community, her heritage, into that area that her mother invites her into. She instead goes to the swimming pool where seemingly the entire black community is there celebrating and cheering for Cleo, and she is, I guess, not assimilating into that, but she wants to be a part of it, but she still at the same time is like putting her hood up and covering herself up, sort of, not sure that that's where she's supposed to be. And so, yeah, just an interesting sort of duality there between the two places she could have been.
yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and do this now. I warned you before we got on the air that I was going to say some things about whiteness as a social construct and stuff like that. But it's here in the episode, and then also in that scene that you mentioned when Platt gets called in the office, and what's the guy's name? Bosco, was that his name?
Bosco, yeah,
Um, is talking about how different immigrant groups have been discriminated, right? And tells Platt that the black community needs to wait their turn or and then Platt says maybe our time is now, all of that. Um, but there is that history of there being this real question of who counts as white.
yeah,
This is what is meant when people say things like whiteness is a social construct. This is what is meant, right? That there is this history of Italian immigrants not counting, German immigrants not counting, Irish immigrants, Polish immigrants,
hmm
and most particularly in relation to the show here, um, the Jewish community, right?
yes, yes,
So in the dream sequence, I think it's of some significance, right? How Maddie's mother is covering up the part of the sign that is forbidding Jews from using the swimming pool. I think that's
hmm
what it is. That I think fairly directly symbolizes it's that assimilation of Jewish identity into whiteness
yeah,
socially. And of course that's not I don't want to suggest that that's anyway the end of the story,
right,
as though
right,
there's no longer any anti-Semitism, of course there is, and so on and so forth. Um, but I think that's what's being symbolized there. And well, one thing we could think about at this level of symbolism then in that dream is Maddie almost seems to be projecting that, or she's not so interested in that, but rather what? How do we put that? I don't know. But it's there is a parallel with what's happening in the real world, the waking world, right?
yeah,
Insofar as she leaves her family, she goes to the bottom, she's had this affair with Platt, and so on and so forth, right?
yeah,
So then it gets to part of the question is how she views herself authentically. I don't know if
yeah.
that's fully
I,
resolved.
I thought about a couple things when these scenes, not only these visions, but as you mentioned that confrontation between Platt and Bosco. Number one, this show takes place, what, 25, 30 years after, I mean, the worst atrocity associated with anti-Semitism that we've ever seen, right? With World War II and all of that. And so there is still, even though we fought against that and we rebelled against that and we succeeded in liberating what was happening there, there's still these these pockets and these groups that feel this way about this community, right? So while it was something that was so hyper focused on that, say 25, 30 years before this, now in the same time frame is perhaps the worst of the atrocities and the worst of the things in terms of the civil rights movement that the Black community is going through, right? So they're, it's sort of this sense of not. I think that there's a lot to be said about that phrase, or "not your turn," that Bosco gives to Platt. I also think about it, and if I think about it, sort of focus in or zoom in on Maddie specifically. I thought about the confrontation with the reporter at the Afro in the last episode, in episode 5. So, Maddie is employed by the Baltimore Star. She
Hmm.
goes to a black paper called the Afro and wants to talk with this reporter and get all of her information about the Cleo Johnson murder investigation and what they've been looking into. And whereas Maddie sort of sees herself sort of torn between these different communities, that reporter is lumping all of them, you know, Jewish, non-Jewish, white, whatever you are, into this group. So none of you care about us. Now, when there's a white person involved, you want us to give us your information to hand it over to you.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
no,
there's a sense of them, us, and how Maddie's really torn in between all of that.
no, yeah, it's a great tie-in because as I recall in that scene, Maddie says something like she prefers to think of it as that she's part of the us of the community of the,
Right,
I live in the bottom, right? And I was like,
right,
and so that I think is one of the big things that the series is exploring of the, I mean, intersectionality of oppression, but also the distinctions and, the differences and the way in which, so then Maddie does more want to identify with the Black community or be in solidarity with them, but she can't really, or at least not perfectly, or this stuff's hard to talk about. But this
yeah,
question,
no,
how do
yeah,
you do that?
yeah,
How do you build kind of intersectional solidarity and all of that? And of course, one of the things that
yeah,
I thought is interesting from the beginning, we talked about this with Cleo's voiceover, is the extent to which Cleo, in the voiceover at least, has been calling Maddie out, right? And saying, well, actually, you're doing this for your own purposes, right?
yeah,
Which can tie into the dream also in terms of when she like eulogizes herself, wants to say she's a writer, right? Like
yeah.
that's the really important thing. Um,
Yeah, just it is interesting that the focus on Maddie, I mean, through this whole series or through this whole season, but in these particular specific moments that she identifies a certain way, and that means certain things, and I mean certain that she's identified in certain ways into different audiences, and just I think about it like one of our kids in middle school, and I would say that he's not the popular jock. He's also not the one that all the kids make fun of, but it's also like, so I'm torn between sort of, do I want to try to identify with people that maybe aspire to, or do I want to try to defend those that are at the bottom? And so Maddie's just stuck in this place where she's experienced some of these things, some of these um, limitations, some of the suffering that Platt and his community have. So does she really want to stand up for them? It seems like she does. That's a hard thing for her to do. It's a hard thing for her to accomplish.
yeah, and I want to mention, um, you made the reference to the Nazis,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think it is significant that the show involves the NSRP, and we see them here having a bit of a rally or whatever. I was mentioning to you before
yes,
we started recording today that the significant events in Baltimore seem to be the following year. So I don't know if the show will get there in 1968
yeah,
with
yeah.
riots, but this is a real historical group,
That's right.
National States Right Party, and they are Nazis.
That's exactly
I'm not
right.
going to, hold back on that at all.
Yeah,
You can look into this group,
yeah,
but that was a point that I wanted to be sure to make here is that they're not making this kind of distinction when it comes to Maddie. They're cut
right.
through with anti-Semitism. They would not view Maddie as white, and so
Yeah,
on and so forth, right? So that you also have within the show that point of view
yeah,
is being represented, I think is significant.
yeah. And for Maddie to be saying it or believing through this whole season that I'm trying to do the right thing, I'm trying to do good work, I'm trying to bring these people justice, trying to bring into light what's happened here. Um, she doesn't really have or seem even within her own nuclear family, she doesn't have a place where she fits, it seems, right now. Right. The NSRP would say she's a certain thing, the Black community would say she's a certain thing, a certain way. Her immediate family says that she's been doing certain things. Her various members of her Jewish community have almost ostracized her because of leaving the family and not participating in certain practices. So she's sort of stuck in this limbo of not being a part of this, still trying to do the right thing. And I assume that's sort of the point of sort of the struggle of this and where it will take us. I'm not sure, but using this very historical, real backdrop as the context of that has been interesting.
Yeah, indeed. And I do expect that, when it comes down to it, I'm really tempted to say when it comes down to it, that this is what the show is about,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
I don't know if anyone listening might feel like, why are we spending so much time on this? I think this is what the show is about.
Yeah, yeah,
Is it also a murder mystery? Sure, you
yeah.
know, but we basically get confirmation in this episode that Stefan's mom killed Tessie. And I
Right.
don't know, I don't, do you believe Bob?
Um, I, I believe he's trying to say, I believe he's telling her the truth so that she will open up, give him information so that he can take all that information and go steal her story. Yes, so I believe that.
Yeah, he says that Stefan's mom found Stefan trying to rape Tessie, and that's no good. And so I'm gonna clean this up for you. And so she killed the girl and all of that. I'm still not sure how Santa Claus fits in.
You want one more episode to try to figure it out.
I hope there's an answer. It's a striking, weird scene there in the first episode, and then they haven't tied it back in. What's going on with Santa Claus and the
I
seahorse?
know.
The seahorse was in the name of the episode, right? I'm not, you know.
It would, yeah, to again, I guess we can never say that sort of the bow has been tied up in this show from what we've seen so far, but to seemingly say, okay, we have clarity on what happened, specifically what happened to Tessie, and then to have that scene not explained, yeah, be tough beat, I guess.
I don't know. It might be going in that direction then, because I mean, what Bob says, it makes sense that this is
Yeah.
would be what had occurred. You um, that Stefan's mom found him with Tessie, and then she actually killed Tessie, and
So this was
that
my question with that. How does he know that? Or how do they, if she killed herself and she did not confess that to Maddie, how do they know that?
doesn't he say that Stefan told him?
The Stefan just says so. The guy who's been convicted of murder, who has every incentive to say somebody else did it, tells them that his
Hmm.
mom did it.
I have to
I
revisit
don't know.
exactly what he says in that scene. So okay, fair enough. We don't have to believe him.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I
You
just don't
know,
know.
maybe that's just become the police's working theory to make sense of why this woman killed herself. And well, and then Bob says they matched the tissue samples under Tessie's nails to Stefan's mother, is in terms of blood type.
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, you're right. I need to
I guess
revisit
we
that.
don't
That's
know.
great. Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
we
They did
can't
say
be
something under the nail.
absolutely sure.
Yes, yes.
I don't think they had DNA testing in 1967.
No, there was, but they could match blood
So
types, but no DNA. Not
no, yeah,
not
no
until OJ.
DNA. So yeah, I mean, there's some loose ends there. Um, and of course, then there's the other big question about Cleo,
Yeah, so okay, so
which
I've read some different recaps and reviews of this episode, several that I could get my hands on before we recorded here. There's some people that are saying definitively that this shows she is alive, Maddie's seeing the actual person. I just and maybe that's sort of a red herring after so much of the episode was visions.
yeah,
I can't even though I want to be, I can't be convinced one way or the other.
yeah. I mean, I think that the fact that so much of the episode is visions or dreams or whatever term we use, it's not real, not reality.
Yeah.
Um, it is the case in that final scene. Cleo says something like, "This isn't a dream" or whatever, but it just definitely seems to me like this is actually what I would praise most about this episode. That, as I was going through it, the dream sequences were enjoyable enough. I don't
Yeah.
know that I managed to work in my mild criticism that I often have, that often when shows do dream sequences, they don't feel sufficiently like dreams. I think that's what's very
Yes.
hard to do, is to actually
Yes.
make, employ a dream logic. Um, Very few can do that, really, really well. Um, so have to be somewhat forgiving. And that's also, I guess, not the point. But the way that so much of it is taken up with dreams, with visions,
Yeah.
and then the revelation at the end, which probably does land that way, like, oh man, she's not really dead. But how could you say definitively,
Right.
without having gone any further, that that's the case when Maddie's basically been hallucinating the whole episode?
That's exactly my point. That this whole episode we've seen her in and out of consciousness and seeing things that aren't there. And am I correct in saying, and maybe I'm just blending these visions together, was Seth actually in the room or was he not in the room? Or did that just become part of one of the visions?
Oh, I don't remember that one for sure, but there definitely was at least one where the vision was in the hospital,
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
right?
So it's not
Um,
out of bounds to say, oh, well, this, we see Cleo who says something strange to the effect of, I was Cleo Johnson, and to say definitively, oh, that's real life. That's, just doesn't quite add up yet. Again, we've not watched ahead, so I guess we'll find out soon. But
right, and then well, one further thing on that point, right? If we're following skepticism now with regard to this being Cleo Johnson, if we kind of laid out speculatively the possibility before, right? That maybe the body that Reggie dumped wasn't really Cleo.
yeah,
Like maybe Dora OD'd on heroin and died, and they did a switcheroo, or
yeah,
someone else did a switcheroo, or whatever. It is the case that we're told by the medical examiner that Cleo's mother identified her, but he's
yeah,
also saying that the body is really messed up. Well, they don't show us, but
yeah,
Maddie kind of recoils and says, "Yeah, your mother had to see it like that, right?" So that seems to open the space for maybe it's not Cleo, but someone who looks enough like Cleo and is wearing Cleo's jacket. We've covered all this before,
yeah,
but
yeah,
if that is what occurred, and Cleo then knows that one of the most powerful people in Baltimore, Shell, wants her dead, is she going to hide by just taking a job at the hospital?
yeah. That doesn't add up to me. It also doesn't add up to me that it seems like Reggie, if Reggie was at all involved in this, he's feeling remorse and guilt and giving the kids groceries and money. Why would he do that unless there's a sense of, well, he helped her escape as opposed to just he killed her? Just I think it's just still such a mystery of what's the actual reality here that we're gonna presumably find out in the finale.
Yeah, and they arrest Slappy on what basis? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
there's something
always the
that Reggie says
husband.
that he framed him, or I think there was also a sense that there was an undercurrent of people sort of accusing Slappy while that group was together at the funeral. So I think there's just the case has been building, whatever that case is.
Yeah, I mean, it was known that they were mm, on the outs, you
Yeah, they had had a
know.
big argument at the club the night before. Somebody
Hmm.
admitted that. So yeah,
Yeah. So hopefully we find out the truth in next week's episode. I don't know if we're going to get justice, whatever that
yeah,
means. It's entirely possible that Slappy is totally innocent but goes to prison anyway.
right, right.
For example. Um, I guess, I mean, that really is the big question. I don't know if we have more to say on this at all, but
Yeah, I
how
mean,
do you interpret
I
that
am
final
very.
scene?
It's made me very interested to find out. I think they've done a good job of, hiding the ball enough that we don't exactly know what to expect, that there's various possible outcomes. I could say, oh, okay, that's reasonable based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to watch the finale.
Yeah.
Answer the question. What is she?
Yeah,
Is Cleo still
exactly.
alive? You know? Um, you mentioned the lingering question about who Seth's father is. We have that flashback in this episode. Alan says that his father, Hal, had other girls and so on and so forth. Almost the most striking thing to me was that they didn't tell us what year this was happening in, at least not that I noticed. I don't think I missed it.
No, I went back and checked on this. No year that flashed up like we've seen in several other episodes and in some of the flashbacks.
Yeah. I
No
mean,
year
I
on this,
guess,
but presumably after the the abortion that we talked about, maybe even a year or two after the abortion that we talked
yeah.
about last week.
I think it's pretty clearly after all of the other flashbacks we have seen.
Yes, yes,
But I think that, and I think that Maddie's already married to Milton, and that's
I agree.
said.
I agree. They are either together or married, and this is not a time where Maddie is in any kind of relationship with Hal or Alan. Runs into Alan. Alan confronts her about the fact that he knew or now knows. They, whatever leap in logic you want to make, that they get intimate after this conversation, and then she becomes pregnant, and then she has to either say that it's Milton's or seal the deal with Milton to get married and cover that up.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
This all potentially undermines my ongoing theory that she only hooked up with Milton to provide cover for pregnancy. But so okay, maybe that's not what happened.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm not trying to be too critical, but I feel like maybe I'm missing it. Maybe there is some significance to how these flashbacks tie into things that's not landing for me.
Yeah, I wonder if there's one flashback that we're going to see that ties more of it together. They've been, as we've discussed, out of order. They seem to kind of connect some dots with this one we got this week, but I think I would be surprised if there are a couple more.
Yeah. I mean, it's providing depth and characterization for Maddie,
Yeah.
I suppose. It's just,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know. I'm at risk of complaining. I just don't quite know why it has to be such a mystery.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Well, there's already
so
one or two significant mysteries we're trying to solve. What is the point of hiding that as well?
yeah, we keep getting hung up every week. We're talking about, and then let's hit on who Seth's father really is
Ex-
biologically. And
Exactly.
I'm just
Yeah.
not sure why that has to be a mystery. Maybe there are reasons we don't know yet. Maybe it'll become clearer
Yeah.
in the finale next week. Um, Looking at our notes, anything else we need to talk about here?
I think we've hit on
This for
what
now.
we had. We have one episode left. We know that will air next Friday, and it is called My Story.
Whose story?
Exactly.
Cleo's story.
Leo has to be. Has to
Yeah,
be.
I think. Well,
We've
but then
we've
that indicates, that okay, maybe she is actually
yeah.
alive, and so on and so forth.
We
This is one of those things where that's it's going to turn out that she's alive, right? But see, what's going to be frustrating is there are going to be all these people in the world, like you were already referring to some of them, who are like claiming that it is obvious and completely confirmed by the end
yeah.
of episode 6, and it's not, right? And we're
Right.
attentive enough to the details and the flow of the episode, and there's the ambiguity, and it's not perfectly clear, and so it'll end up being, and I don't know this, but I'm just imagining it'll end up being no, she is alive, and then people will be saying we're wrong to question it or something, and
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
but it's
No,
not
I think
clear. We
I think that they purposefully are keeping blinders on so that we don't know. I think that's the goal right now.
Yeah. All right, so looking forward to the finale here. We'll be back next week to talk about it as per usual, along with our usual news and notes in the first part of the podcast. Hopefully people check that out. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do leave a good rating and review. Um, like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, give that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. Check out TVObsessive.com. You can follow the site on social media. Look for TV Obsessive on X, Facebook, what else? Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram. I think that's it. Um, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
All right. Look forward to seeing you then for the finale.